This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
And welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock, as always. We're glad to have you with us on this first day of November. Legislative leaders have been bouncing around a number of post-session items ranging from health care reform to highways to education to prisons. So why not throw another issue in the mix? I'm joined by Arkansas Speaker of the House, Jeremy Gillam, Senate President Jonathan Dismang. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having us.
All right, so you guys want to get a new broadband initiative going. You held a little, I don't know if it's a press conference, you just made it public this week what you wanted to do. Specifically, you want draft legislation ready for the next regular legislative session, correct?
If it's needed.
If it's needed. What
Yes.
does it need to address? What needs to be addressed?
Mainly affordability and access is what we're after. Looking at the landscape over the last couple of years and the debate that's been going on as far as the delivery to K through 12 educational facilities, we got to realizing in our conversations and talking that we were kind of missing a huge component, which was, everybody's homes and businesses. And so that's really what this initiative is about, is making sure that we're border to border, every home, every business, and every school building has the appropriate access.
It's about as much about infrastructure as roads are for transportation of goods, the information highway, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And really last week, what we were really wanting to do is make sure the members understood that there was I guess some urgency to us getting to a resolution of where we want to go in broadband, identify the situation that we have, map out a plan, set a stringent timeline, and actually have some, goals in place for us as we reach next session.
Who's going to lead this charge? Who's going to be in charge of making sure that this happens from point A to point Z?
Well, we're very fortunate that we've got great members on the Joint Information and Technology Committee. So Senators Sample and Representative Stephen Meeks are the co-chairs for that committee, and so they're going to be sort of the point folks leading that charge, along with the committee members. There's some great talented people on that committee, and then our leadership teams are also a part of it as well. From the House, we've got Representative Sabin, who's got this great expertise and knowledge of the industry, and he's part of our leadership team, so he's going to be assisting with this as well. But out of 135 members, we've got some great folks, and so this is going to be, I think, a General Assembly wide initiative, even though these committees are going to be the ones running the show.
So do you think there needs to be policy change to make it more applicable, to encourage more free enterprise and investment, or do you think the state's going to have to put some money into this to make it happen?
I think that's what we have to look at, and I really don't want to jump to any conclusion. We need to see what funds are available on a federal level, for an expansion type programs that are out there, seeing what the providers are actually doing themselves, to meet the needs, and to really see what the new technologies are, to see what's best utilized in those rural areas.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but one quick question first. Speaker Gillam, have you talked him into running for Senate President again?
I have been talking for months now. Hopefully, come Monday, we'll get our resolution favorably. So.
And your answer would be?
It's just one election at a time.
Oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of this answer cycle with you. All right, a quick commercial break. We're back with House Speaker Jeremy Gillam, Senate President Jonathan Dismang. I'm Roby Brock. This is Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock. Welcome back. I am joined again by Senate President Jonathan Dismang, Speaker of the House Jeremy Gillam. All right, so let's talk about some other topics here beyond broadband and his non-answer of whatever he's going to do. You guys have been studying in the interim. A task force has been looking at potential options for highway funding. This has been a big working task force all year long. It looks like there's going to be about 5 options proposed, ranging from tax increases to tax rebates to maybe some higher fees on alternative vehicles, and desegregation payments that might come free in 2017 could also be used in this. What's the player's choice here? What would you guys prefer to see come out of all of this? Or where do you think that the legislature might be?
Well, I think first and foremost, whatever we do, we want to be revenue neutral, to the state. Maybe shifting some of our current spending into a different direction for highways, or increasing a tax that's related to, the highway usage, and decreasing one that's more broad-based for the people of Arkansas. Second to that, I think that what we'd really like to see is a commitment from the Highway Department to make sure that they're monitoring their processes the best that they can, that they're being as efficient as they can in what they're doing. And, you know, I think there is some concern amongst the public that they're not being as efficient as possible.
What's the proof on that?
Well, I mean, I think it's really people, you know, it may be a lack of education about how the process works when you're building new infrastructure, but I mean, you know, for example, you can watch and it's, as you've heard for years, you got 5 people standing around a shovel type conversation, and those conversations still exist. And again, and that's not necessarily the, you know, an issue, but I think it is something the Highway Department needs to discuss if they're going to be looking for additional state dollars.
You want to see better measurement, basically. Right. Yeah, you, Speaker Gillam.
Well, I feel like it's been great debate, and the discussion's been very, I think, positive and healthy for us to look at all these different options. Where we're at as far as the membership-wise, we don't know yet. A lot of the members are really kind of just starting to really take a look at this outside of those that are on the working group. So we'll see how the next few months play out in the discussions among the members, but some seem to be more in favor of other ideas, you know, that have been broached here lately. So we'll see that there's still a lot of time left. They may come up with even more, and we may be talking about 12 or 13 different options instead of 5 or 6.
Lord, y'all will never handle that many options. So the desegregation payments are one potential option. That money is supposed to be earmarked for reducing the last elements of the grocery tax that could be repealed. Do you think there's some legislative support for using those desegregation payments for different reason?
I've heard some in the House. How widespread it is, we don't know, because most of us in the interim have been scattered among all of our different committees, and so we've not really been together a lot to have these discussions. I don't know about the Senate, but I think it has the potential to get some traction in the House, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something worth talking about at this point. That's that's a future tax decrease that the people haven't experienced yet. We do have a need that we know about right now, and again, I think everything should be on the table.
All right. Healthcare, let's flip over to another long-running task force of ideas that's been out there. The Stephen Group has chartered a lot of territory for you guys in terms of their report that came out. What's the biggest recommendation you think that's been made that could have the biggest impact, do you think, Senator?
Well, I mean, I think it's really everything in a broad look. You know, I mean, the report takes a look at both the private option, which actually, you know, whatever we do to change that program is probably going to have a lesser impact than really our traditional Medicaid program. You know, there's a discussion, I think there's pretty heavy emphasis on managed care in that report. Depending on what population you look at, I think that could be a fairly large cost saver. But again, I think it's one that also spurs some other discussion with providers. Inside the report that you looked at the pharmacy benefit payments for Medicaid recipients, I think that's something that, you know, should be examined and looked at. But again, I think there's you know, several different items in that report that could really generate some savings.
What grabbed you the most, Speaker Gillam?
I think you know, the heavy emphasis on the managed care, you know, realizing the discussions that would come from that. So far, they've been very positive among members as far as you know, creating new you know, discussion points and looking at things and really diving in. I'm excited about what the task force has over the next few weeks as for, you know, in their scheduling and what's going to come out of that. I think we'll have a better answer in the direction that we're going to go after the next probably 3 or 4 weeks with their meetings. They may come up, the members themselves on the task force may come up with some new alternatives and some new plans that the consultants didn't cover, and so we'll have to wait and see. Managed
care could mean more contract management. There's not a great track record up there, and the legislature seems to have be quite scrutinizing a lot of that. I mean, does that not concern you? I mean, reforms for contract management seem to me to be the most important thing that needs to happen in terms of monitoring tax dollars.
And that was one of the discussions that I was referencing earlier that's come about from that, is really a lot of members have been looking at that because of what Joint Performance Review has been covering over the last several months. And so I think that's a good positive discussion for us to have is you know, really getting a control over those contract managements.
Yeah, I think really one thing that we need to make sure that we're focusing on, and I'm sure the report did enough of this, but really the state dollar spend, or, you know, truly our state dollar spend here in the state on Medicaid and whatever we look to do, reforming the program and whether it may be managed care or not. I really think we need to tackle those high cost areas first with a focus on our actual state spend.
Going to have to change the name from the private option. Will Arkansas Works work, do you think, to get to 75 in funding? Yes or no?
Yeah, I've never really been in branding, so I'll let someone else.
I think we'll have to just wait and I think most of our members that I hear, both the House and the Senate, are more concerned about what's in
versus what it's called.
What it's called. So.
All right, Speaker Jeremy Gillam, Senate President Jonathan Dismang, thank you both for being with us. Appreciate you.
All right, thanks.
All right. After the break, KTV's Janelle Lilly joins me for news and a look at next week's filing period. And later, columnist and Talk Business and Politics contributor John Brummett with his take on presidential politics, the new U.S. Speaker of the House, and who knows what else. We're back after this.